Hi Muglet, so Yinlin's been out for a week or so now. I've been able to play with her and practice with her a bit, so I feel a little bit more comfortable actually doing a showcase and review for her now. I would definitely classify Yinlin as an off-field sub DPS. I do think she works best in a team with an actual main on-field DPS, but she can do a lot of damage herself. I'm going to structure this similar to how I do with Genshin because I just think it's pretty logical, which means next would be the Forte overview, we can call it here. Unlike most sub DPSs, her basic attack is actually a pretty integral part of her kit. We will come back to this later, but for now it's just damage. In her heavy attacks case, in a pretty large area. The animations are definitely some of the coolest and more unique ones I've seen. She's just going around swinging her puppet on this string. It's very cool. Her resonance skill, or E, can do several things, and it does actually have 2 stages, so you can press E twice in quick succession. The first E does some damage and puts Yinlin in execution mode. While in execution mode, each one of her different basic attacks, so she has 4, or a dodge counter, can each trigger an electromagnetic blast, which is essentially an extra attack. And this electromagnetic blast will hit all enemies that have Sinner's Mark on them, which we're going to talk about in a second. The multiplier on this attack isn't massive, but especially in AoE scenarios, it can, add up to some pretty decent damage. If you use her resonance skill a second time, she will do lightning execution, which is essentially just another attack. It does some damage. And then her Forte circuit. This is kind of the core of her kit. It's basically a passive, but it'll make everything make sense. So the Forte circuit is typically connected directly to this little bar above your HP bar. How you fill it up and use it works differently on different characters, so we're just going to be talking about Yinlin here. This energy for Yinlin is called judgment points. So first of all, how does she get these judgment points? Most things she does actually regenerates them. The only thing she doesn't get judgment points from is her resonance liberation or her ultimate. Just spamming normal attacks will get you a very small amount of judgment points. As you can see here, doing charged or heavy attacks nets you a lot more judgment points. However, doing her skill is where you get the big juicy judgment points. What's better is that after using her skill, her normal attacks will actually give you more judgment points as well. Also, something they don't even mention in her Forte circuit skill is that she also gets some judgment points from her intro skill. So we know how to gain judgment points now. The next thing is using them, but before that we have to talk about Sinner's Mark. Sinner's Mark is a debuff that Yinlin can apply to enemies. She can apply this mark with normal attacks, her ultimate or resonance liberation, and intro skill. It's important to make sure all enemies in the area have Sinner's Mark on them before using the judgment points. Once you've made sure of that and you have full judgment points, you can do a heavy attack to unleash Chameleon Cypher. This attack not only does some solid damage, but transforms all of the Sinner's Mark on all of the enemies into Punishment Mark. Unlike Sinner's Mark, Punishment Mark stays on the enemy when Yinlin leaves the field. So what does the Punishment Mark do? Anytime an enemy that has a Punishment Mark on them is attacked, all enemies that have Punishment Mark on them will take damage. This damage to all enemies can happen every second, and the mark itself lasts for 18. Yinlin's main goal in a team is just to hop in, plant as many Punishment Marks as possible, and then leave. Because even while she's off field, she's still sending all those judgment strikes to the enemy, dealing damage. So after all that, I bet you're wondering what her resonance liberation does. It does literally nothing except some damage. I mean, pretty solid damage, and it is like one way to make absolutely sure everyone in the area has Sinner's Mark on them before doing her heavy attack. So her resonance liberation is simple, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And her intro skill, also pretty simple. We'll also apply Sinner's Mark and give her some judgment points. And finally, her outro skill gives some very nice boost to the character swapping in. 20% electro damage and 25% resonance liberation damage. As far as her sequences are concerned, unfortunately, I don't have a special server here yet. Wink wink, Wuthering Waves, give me a special server please. So we can't actually show any gameplay here of her sequences, but as far as I've heard, the first one is a lot worse than it sounds. Magnetic Roar and Lightning Execution deal 70% more damage, but they don't do a massive amount of damage anyway, so it's a pretty small overall damage increase for her. S2 gets her off the field a little faster, so if you are like an incredible god gamer and actually do perfect rotations, this potentially can be a very strong sequence. I think for most people, it's still not that great though. Where it does get a little bit better is S3 though. The Judgment Strikes multiplier is increased by 55%, so these Judgment Strikes are her off-field damage, and of course their multiplier getting increased by 55% is a big deal. So yes, S3, quite good, but it's S3. For all intents and purposes, her S4 is a permanent 20% attack buff for the rest of the team. Again, okay, I suppose. S5, in my opinion, is another one that sounds a lot better than it is. 100% extra damage with her burst against enemies with Sinner's Mark or Punishment Mark. And yeah, her ultimate does do some nice burst damage, but it's not the focus of her kit, so I don't think it'll make that big of a difference in her whole rotation. And then of course, S6 sounds absolutely cracked. Basically within 30 seconds of doing her burst, her normal attacks will deal 419% of her attack. This extra attack, Furious Thunder, can only happen up to 4 times, but still, that's over a 1600% multiplier. That is pretty crazy. But yes, that is Yinlin's kit. Let's go ahead and talk about build now, of course, starting with her weapon. Her signature String Master, as you may have guessed, is the best for her. Crit rate main stat is incredibly valuable. The passive on it also gives her a lot of attack and an additional 12 if she's specifically off field, which she will be. The next best for her would be the Cosmic Ripples, primarily because it's a 5-star and has 5-star stats. Once you hit level 45, you do get to select a free 5-star of these basic ones, so as long as your main DPS is covered, you can choose this for her. Outside of that, if you bought the battle pass, there is Augment here, which has crit rate main stat, again very valuable, and we do get a 15% attack buff here, so it is kind of a mini version of her signature weapon. And then if all those are out of the question, it's basically just Jinzo Keeper left. And if you don't even have that, then Rectifier of Night. In terms of echo build, we have 2 main options. We are going the Moonlit Clouds set, mainly for the 5-piece set. After using outro skill, increase the attack of the next resonator by 22.5. So yes, I prefer my Yinlin to be more of a support for my actual DPS, and the energy region is pretty nice as well. The other set option is Void Thunder for more personal damage for Yinlin and also more damage on her judgment strikes. If you choose to go Moonlit Clouds, of course, you're going to want an Impermanence Heron here. It is one of the few cost 4s that are on the Moonlit Cloud set, but it does regain some energy and buff the next character coming in, which typically would be your DPS. So again, it's more of a support set and a support echo. For 5-piece Void Thunder, Tempest Mephis is typically recommended. If you're not really into doing swap cancels and stuff, then Thundering Mephis would also be fine, because this one will actually give you a buff as well, electro damage and resonance liberation damage. Regardless of what you choose, the main stats are going to be pretty much the same. For Yinlin, if you have her signature weapon that gives crit rate or the battle pass weapon that gives crit rate, you're most likely going to want to go crit damage. If you have an attack percent weapon, then it really depends on how the rest of your echoes roll. If you get a lot of crit rate or a lot of crit damage, then that could change what you go for. As a general rule of thumb, at least for Wuthering Waves, take 100% crit damage off of your crit damage number here, and then try to get as close to a 1-to-2 ratio as possible with your crit rate. For example, with 70% crit rate, you'd want this number to display around 240. We're obviously a little low in the crit rate department, but I haven't rolled most of my other echoes, just the cost 4 currently. So yeah, it really depends on what you need more of, and that will change based on the weapon and how everything else rolls really. Main stats on the other echoes, we typically want electro damage bonus on both cost 3s here, with attack percent on the cost 1s. Early game, if you're struggling to get decent echoes with decent like crit stats on them, you can actually go 2 cost 4s and 3 cost 1s. So 1 can be crit rate, 1 can be crit damage, and then you just have 3 attacks. This is overall a bit worse than the typical 4-3-3-1-1 setup, but it is easier to build. As for substats, I mean, look at my Heron here. This is basically all you need. Crit damage, energy regen, attack. We also have resonance liberation damage, which is a nice bonus, I guess. Also, resonance skill damage would be good, and even flat attack is okay. You really don't need that much energy regen with Yinlin, like maybe 30%, so I wouldn't necessarily make it a requirement to get energy regen on every echo, especially if you're going Moonlit Clouds, because you're already getting 10% here. I guess while we're here, it might be a little out of place, but we're going to roll the current echo she has equipped. I meant to do this a while ago, but I guess I never got around to it. We got a couple of mid stats there. Resonance liberation is okay, but def, you never want to see def. And we'll go ahead and roll this guy as well. It would be smarter to only get them up to +5, but I don't know, it might just be superstition, but I feel like I have better luck when I get them to, not in this case, whatever. We got the same exact stats on this guy. We have another Electro Spear back here, so we're just going to upgrade him first before equipping. We just got flat attack and def. Got another Electro Damage car here. I mean, this one's actually not bad. Skill and energy regen. I think that's like a max energy regen roll or very close to it. So we're gonna get this guy up to 15 and just pray we get some crit rate. That's mainly what we need right now. It's also not bad, so we're gonna keep going. If I don't get crit rate by 20 though, I typically give up. Unless it's crit damage, then I'm gonna risk it. Flat HP. Damn, that could have been good. Got another electro damage car. Let's see how this goes. Flat attack and HP. Okay. And I think that was it, unfortunately. We're going to get him up to 15 also, just because we're getting kind of desperate now. See if that does anything. Ooh, we finally got crit rate. Okay. And I guess we could throw all the other spearbacks we raised for her in there as well. And yeah, this Bringle. And then we're just going to get it up to 25 and pray for the best. Like, it has promise. Even though it rolled def at first, it still has promise. We're actually very low on tuning materials, so we probably have to do some tacit fields soon. Oh no. Of course. Okay, we at least have crit rate and Resonance Liberation damage bonus. I mean, it's better than a completely unrolled one, isn't it? Also, I should have definitely mentioned this in my echo guide I did a while ago, but if you actually do have 2 of the same echoes, the 5-piece doesn't work anymore. Like, if we equip this guy and we have 2 spearbacks, you can see the moonlit clouds. I mean, it does say it right down there. Same echoes will not be counted towards the Sonata effect. Pretty quick thing to learn, I suppose, but even so, I probably should have mentioned it. I don't know. We can try and get this guy to 15. We got Resonance Liberation bonus there as well. If we get crit rate on 15, I would say it's worth it. Oh, it's always like 6% though. Dude, it goes up to like 10% crit rate. Why do I always get the 6 and 7s? Ah, whatever. It's still worth it. It's still worth it. I need crit rate. Let's see if we did pick up any attack percents, because the ones I did roll already are pretty bad. Yes, here we have a whiff waff. I might just get the cost ones up to 5 though to see the first stat in this case, because they are generally easier to get. Def percent. Oh, and my Jianshin has one with crit damage on it. And flat attack. You can have the other one I have. It's not that bad. You don't really need crit damage and stuff. And my Mortifi also has a decent looking one. Energy regen, crit damage, attack, resonance skill. Sorry, Mortifi. Yinlin's the star of the show now. Let me get this whiff waff to 15 and just pray we get crit rate. Basic attack's pretty bad. I mean, I think she's looking a lot better now. We have 60 crit rate, 240 crit damage, which is very close to the example I gave when we were talking about it. We would just need 10 more crit rate. Oh, and we have 130 energy regen. Actually, she's built pretty dang well. Rest of the stats, I'm not even too sure, honestly, because I don't have much of a reference currently, but we have 1600 attack, 62 electro damage bonus, 25 resonance liberation damage bonus. It's kind of cool, I suppose. But yeah, sure, let's play with her a little bit. We actually did go through Tower of Adversity the other day. It has since reset, but like I said in that video, it wasn't much of a Yinlin specific showcase. So today I kind of want to play with her and have a bigger focus on her. So the team we have here, Yinlin, Kalcharo, and Verena, I do think is the best team to use Yinlin in. The bad thing is, to play this team perfectly is incredibly difficult. Both Yinlin and Kalcharo have attacks that have pretty long animations that should be swap canceled. I personally don't think it's actually required to play perfectly to beat Wuthering Waves content. You should only really concern yourself with that if you're trying to speedrun or beat the high level stuff really early. You do already know how to play Yinlin generally just from her Forte overview. It's basically about filling up her points down there and doing a charge attack while the enemies have Sinner's Mark, which is easiest if you do ultimate first. That's like the simple way to play her, I guess, but she does have like a specific rotation one of my Discord friends sent me. I'm not even totally sure if I understand everything right here, but we're gonna give it a try. Since we always start with full ultimate, that's the first thing we do. After that, we do her resonance skill twice, so both of them, but on the second one, we actually swap out to save that animation time and then swap back to her to do 2 heavy attacks. After those 2 heavy attacks, we should have full judgment points or very close to it. So then we do the charge attack and can swap out to our DPS. Sometimes this combo works for me, sometimes I need a tiny bit more judgment points, so I'm not sure. I also feel like I'm not saving that much time by swap canceling. I'm probably just too slow with it still. It's something that requires a lot of practice, and I'm probably never going to be perfect with stuff like this, but as I continue to play, I'll probably get better. The main point is just to get her judgment and the judgment strikes on the enemy as fast as possible. Here's a bit of just raw gameplay here. We're on floor 3. Please don't judge me too hard. I am a bit of a noob, and reading all of these rotations and everything really makes me feel like it. I feel like I am a little bit more comfortable with Yinlin than Kalcharo. He apparently should be swap canceled like every time he does anything. But I think mainly his heavy attacks, because yeah, they actually do have a pretty long animation. I don't really bother with that yet, though. Once I get a bit more comfortable with these two, I'll probably try a little bit more. Also, for normal gameplay, like what I'm doing here, I'm only swap canceling Yinlin's charge attack, really, because I'm just naturally going to be swapping out anyway, so it's easy. We also do have to swap to Verena here and there because, yeah, we do get hit and we do need some healing. But even so, like at level 70, we are completing this floor 3 in like a little over a minute, so I don't really feel like being that efficient and that perfect is really necessary to clear it in time. If I wanted to take care of the level 100 enemies at my current power strength, then yes, probably, but it's just not that important to me personally, I guess. But yeah, we'll do a tiny bit of open world gameplay as well, just so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on in a slower environment here. Like we got some dudes over here. That one's kind of sparkly. Is that like a special skin? Oh, we literally just found a shiny. Bones joined my world to grab the shiny, but I guess we could still do some overworld gameplay. We don't really need anyone else besides Yinlin. Come on, Bones. I'm not sure if the tiny encore can make it, honestly. This is a pretty big river and she's slow. It was okay. Trying to get a decent clip of the actual like judgment marks happening. So we're heading to the morning eggs here. I know it doesn't move around too much, so we might be able to see something. Oh wait, there we go. We just applied it. I don't know if I'm not sure if it even had the mark on it, but it looks like all those electrical things are happening as a matter of fact, and I need healing. I didn't mean to do her charge attack right at the beginning, but that was definitely the judgment strikes hitting it there. So I guess that's good. Why doesn't the robot spawn in co-op anyway? That's so weird. Let's see if we can see a little bit better on Monkey Man here. Oh, Jesus. He's going banana already. One singular banana. Yeah, should be this charge attack here. I'm not gonna bother swapping out. So yeah, I mean, there they go, really. We're gonna do her ultimate. Dude should have... Did that just miss? Did everything miss? What kind of damage are they doing? Like 1500 maybe? The coordinated attacks? That's actually quite a lot. If that is what I'm seeing there, and I'm pretty sure it was. We can do it again. I mean, like, Monkey Man died pretty fast. Oh no. Bones went to go make dinner. Okay, she left the team, good. But yeah, I suppose that'll pretty much do it for the little Yinlin video here. All in all, absolutely amazing character. Like, she does a lot of damage herself. She has some nice boosts. She is also very versatile. Like, you definitely can use her in any team. The quote unquote best teams are a little bit more restricted, I guess, but at the end of the day, she's just solid damage, solid off-field damage. But yeah, let me know what you think about Yinlin in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing to the channel if you enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching. And until next time.